The village of Norabad slept early. By the time the last lantern dimmed, only one small light still burned inside a mud house near the old banyan tree. There, a little girl named Marouge sat by the window, her chin resting on her knees, eyes fixed upon the moon that floated like a silver coin in the sky. Every night she talked to it. "Are you lonely too?" she whispered, her voice barely a sigh. The moon said nothing, but its light softened, as if listening. Her grandmother often scolded her. Children should sleep at night, not talk to shadows. But Maru would just smile, her small fingers tracing shapes on the window glass. "I'm not talking to shadows, Dottie. I'm talking to the moon." When she grew tired of silence, she began to write letters. Tiny folded papers hidden beneath her pillow. Letters to the moon. About her dreams, her fears, her wish to touch the stars. Seasons changed. Rains came and washed the dust from the earth, but Maru's bond with the moon never faded. Sometimes, when she felt sad, she swore she could see a faint silhouette dancing upon its surface, a shadow of someone who might be listening from up there. Her father, a quiet farmer, used to watch her from afar. "She's strange," he said once, "always staring at the sky." Her mother smiled softly. "Strange children are the ones who change the world." Years passed. Maru grew older, but her dreams grew faster than her age. While other children played with wooden dolls, she played with imagination, drawing rockets on torn pages, building tiny telescopes out of broken bottles. Every full moon night, she wrote a new promise: "One day I will meet you, my silver friend." Then came the year of departure. A city scholarship, a one-way ticket from dust roads to shining towers. As the bus rolled away, she looked back, the village fading behind her like an old story, and the moon following her silently, its light trembling through the window glass. She whispered, "Don't forget me." And for the first time in her life, she thought she saw the moon blink. In the city, Maru was lost among noise and neon. The sky was no longer dark. It was drowned in the brightness of human dreams. She studied science, space, light, gravity, but nothing felt as magical as that old silence between her and the moon. Yet she worked hard, harder than anyone else. Her professors began to notice her brilliance, her quiet obsession with the lunar world. And one evening, under the artificial glow of lab lights, Maru stood before her mentor and said, "Greater than, I want to work on the moon mission project." Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with the ache of destiny calling her name. That night, after months, she climbed up the rooftop of her hostel. The city was asleep again. Above, the same moon hung calm, ancient, waiting. She smiled faintly. "I'm coming to find you," she whispered. And as if in reply, a breeze stirred. A piece of her old childhood letter flew out from her notebook. The words faint, but still alive. "One day we'll meet between earth and light." Days in the city moved faster than thoughts. Trains hummed like restless rivers. Lights never slept. And people wore faces that changed every hour. But, mirror, she carried silence with her, like a secret. At night, when her roommates laughed and scrolled through glowing screens, Maru would climb the narrow stairs to the roof. She'd look up, but the moon was faint, blurred behind a curtain of smoke and city dust. "Still," she whispered, "I'm still here. Can you see me?" Some nights, she thought she heard a soft echo inside her chest, a rhythm that matched the pulse of that faraway light. Her studies deepened. She learned the language of stars, the equations of distance and light, but deep inside, she felt that science was only half the truth. The other half was something you could feel but never prove. She began working at the National Observatory, where the night sky was captured through a massive telescope. When Maru looked into it for the first time, the world fell away. Through that giant eye of glass, she saw the moon like never before. Every ridge, every crater, every shadow alive with stories. And then she saw it, a flicker, like a heartbeat beneath the moon's pale skin. "Is that movement?" she asked. Her mentor, Dr. Rayhan, smiled dismissively. "Just light distortion, Maru. The moon doesn't move. It reflects. But Maru wasn't convinced. That flicker. It felt familiar, like the moon was trying to answer her. Weeks passed, but that one glimpse haunted her. She started staying late in the observatory when everyone else had gone. Under the cold hum of machines, she would focus the telescope again and again. Sometimes she'd see the flicker. Sometimes, nothing. Until one night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., it appeared again. This time, it wasn't just a flicker. It was a shadow, a faint, human-like silhouette standing upon the moon's surface, as if someone was watching her back. Maru froze. Her heart thudded against the glass lens. She whispered, "Greater than. Are you real?" The telescope trembled slightly. Nope, the Earth did. A light vibration ran through the building, subtle but deep. And in that brief quake, the computer screen beside her flickered too, showing strange, ancient symbols she had never seen before. They glowed for a moment, then vanished. The next morning, she tried to tell Dr. Rayhan. He laughed softly, patting her shoulder. "You've been dreaming too much, Maru. The sky can play tricks when you stare too long." But she couldn't shake it off. That night, she returned again, and there it was. The same time, the same shimmer, only this time, she wasn't scared. She whispered softly, "Greater than. If you can hear me, blink once." The moon didn't blink, but one faint beam of light slid down the lens, bathing her hand in silver, and then, as if in response, a soft sound filled the observatory, like a whisper carried on wind. Not from outside, from inside the telescope. Her heart raced. She leaned closer. The whisper shaped itself into words. "You came back!" Maru's eyes widened. Tears gathered, reflecting the same light she had loved since childhood. She whispered back, "I never left." That night changed everything. From then on, she knew the line between science and dream wasn't a line at all. It was a mirror, and she was standing right between its reflections. Far away, the moon shimmered brighter than ever before, as if smiling. For days, Maru could think of nothing else but that whisper, that one impossible sentence. "You came back." It echoed through her mind like a lullaby she half remembered. The observatory had become her temple now. Every night, when the world outside drowned in sleep, she returned to that silent telescope, hoping the moon would speak again. But nights passed. Silence. The silver disk stared back, cold and distant. She began to doubt herself. Maybe it was her imagination, a tired mind turning dreams into voices. Until one night, the silence broke again. At 2:17 a.m., the same shimmer, the same pole, and then a faint hum from the telescope, not of this world, not mechanical. Her computer screen flickered. Lines of code appeared by themselves, symbols, glowing faintly like written light. She leaned closer. The symbols began to rearrange, forming words in a trembling sequence. "We remember you, child of Earth." Her breath caught. Hands shaking, she typed into the console. "Who are you?" A pause. Then more light, greater than. Echoes of light, the forgotten reflection. "You once spoke to us." Maru's eyes filled. Her hands trembled over the keyboard. "Greater than. When I was little, I talked to the moon." The symbols flickered faster. "Greater than. You spoke with heart, not sound." We answered. We waited. She sat frozen. Was this real? A hidden frequency? A glitch? Or was the moon truly alive in some way humanity could never understand? Her heart said yes. Her mind said impossible. But then a new transmission appeared. Coordinates. A series of numbers pointing to a hidden crater on the moon's dark side. One never explored by any probe or camera, and below it one line pulsed softly. "Come home." The next morning, Maru stood before the mirror in her small hostel room. Her eyes were tired, but there was a light in them. The same quiet silver that lived in moonlight. She had made her decision. She went to Dr. Rahan's office. "I want to join the lunar crew selection," she said. He looked up sharply. You? That's a military-level mission, Maruj. It's not for research scholars. I don't care, she said softly. I just need to go there. Her voice was calm, but inside the whisper still echoed. Come home. Rayhan studied her for a long moment. Finally, he sighed. You've always been a little mad, Maru, but maybe that's what the sky needs. Months passed in silence and training. Simulations, physical drills, psychological tests. While others dreamed of fame, she dreamed of light. Sometimes during training, when she closed her eyes, she could feel something, a soft rhythm pulsing through her veins, as if the moon itself was syncing with her heartbeat. And every night, at exactly 2:17, she felt it calling. One evening, when she was alone in the simulator, a faint shimmer appeared on the control screen again. The same symbols, glowing gently. This time, she whispered aloud. Why me? The console dimmed. Then words appeared. Greater than. Because you still believe in light. Tears rolled down her cheeks. The hum returned, and for a heartbeat, she felt warmth wrap around her. A presence like moonlight made flesh. The next morning, she received a message from the Space Program Board. Final list of lunar research crew approved. Candidate M. Zara, selected. Her heart stopped for a second. She stepped out onto the balcony. The dawn sky was faint, washed with silver. The moon was fading, sinking behind clouds. She smiled through her tears. Wait for me, she whispered. I'm coming home. And the clouds parted just enough for one last ray of light to fall upon her face. Warm. Alive. Answering? The launch day arrived wrapped in silence. The morning sky was the color of steel, heavy with wind. Beyond the glass dome of the Space Research Center, Maru stood in her white suit, her reflection glowing faintly in the polished floor. Everything around her felt unreal. Men spoke through radios, lights blinked, numbers flashed on screens. But inside, she could only hear one sound, the slow heartbeat of the moon. As she boarded the spacecraft RZ-1, her fingers brushed the cold metal door. It was colder than she imagined. Yet it felt like home. Copy that. Crew ready for ignition, came the voice through her headset. The engines roared 1,000 suns beneath her feet. Gravity trembled, then let go. And suddenly the earth was falling away. Mountains turned to shadows. Rivers curved like silver veins. The sky melted into black velvet, studded with cold stars. Maru pressed her forehead to the window. There it was, the moon, enormous, silent, waiting. Her chest ached with awe. She whispered under her breath, I'm coming back to you. Days passed inside the endless dock. The world behind her shrank to a glowing marble. Ahead, the moon grew. It wasn't just a rock. It was a memory. Sometimes, at night, when her crewmates slept, she would stare out and hum a tune her grandmother once sang, a lullaby about lost light finding its way home. And every time she sang, a faint shimmer would ripple across the moon's surface, as if something beneath its skin was listening. On the 5th day, the crew began their descent. The moon filled the window, an ocean of silver dust and shadow. Maru's pulse raced. Those same coordinates from the message flashed in her mind. Crater 41.9N, 156.3E, the hidden side. But it wasn't on their official map. She hesitated. Should she tell them? No, they would never believe. So she waited. When the ship landed, gravity hugged her gently, weaker, softer, dreamlike. Her boots touched the surface for the first time. The silence was absolute, so pure it almost hummed. The others began setting up instruments, but Maru, she walked away slowly toward the shadowed ridge. Her radio crackled. Zara, where are you going? Stay in range. She ignored it. The moon's horizon shimmered faintly like a mirage. And then she saw it, a soft light pulsing beneath the dust, the same pattern she'd seen on her screen weeks ago. She knelt down and brushed the ground. The dust lifted like smoke, revealing smooth glass, a translucent layer of light. Her breath caught. Beneath it, shadows moved, And then she heard it again. The whisper, "Welcome home, Marrow." Her tears floated upward in the weak gravity, tiny orbs of silver. She whispered, trembling, "Who are you?" A beam of light rose from the ground, surrounding her in a soft glow. The whisper grew warmer, gentler, greater than, "We are what you left behind." The reflection of every dream, every thought that ever reached us. Maru's heart ached. Greater than. You mean? You're born from us? Yes, from those who looked up and saw not stone, but hope. The light wrapped around her like an embrace. Images flickered, children staring at the sky. Poets, dreamers, lonely souls whispering into the night. All their voices echoed together in a quiet hymn of longing. Greater than. "You were the first to hear us," said the voice, and the only one who answered back. Tears streamed down her face. Greater than. "Why did you call me here?" The ground beneath her shimmered, opening into an ocean of light. Greater than. Because the world below is forgetting. They've stopped looking up. They've filled their skies with smoke. You must remind them that the sky still listens. She stood there, lost between two worlds. A human made of dust, a soul made of light. For the first time, she didn't feel small. She felt infinite. As the whisper faded, the silver glow sank back into the ground, leaving only her footprints and the soft hum of eternity. Her radio crackled again. "Zara, we've been looking for you. Are you okay?" She smiled faintly, looking toward Earth. A tiny blue spark floating in the void, greater than. "Yes," she whispered. "I found what I was looking for." The moon had no sound, yet Maru swore she could hear it breathe. The silence was not emptiness, it was music without notes. A stillness that spoke of everything the universe never said aloud. When she returned to the ship, the others stared. Her suit shimmered faintly, dusted with silver light. Dr. Rahan's voice crackled through the calm. "Zara, where were you?" "We lost your signal for 30 minutes." She hesitated, then smiled softly. "Greater than. I was listening." They laughed it off, assuming fatigue. But inside her glove, hidden in her palm, something pulsed. A tiny fragment of glowing dust she had taken from that crater of light. It was alive, warm, breathing like a heartbeat. The journey back to Earth felt slower, heavier. As the moon grew smaller behind them, Maru pressed her hand against the glass. "Greater than. You said I must remind them," she whispered. The dust in her palm shimmered faintly in reply. Like a silent promise. When the spacecraft landed, the world welcomed them as heroes. There were reporters, cameras, medals, but Maru saw none of it. Her mind still lived in the quiet rhythm of another world. In every speech she gave, she slipped in small things. The sky is alive. Light remembers. Dreams travel farther than rockets. People smiled politely, not understanding. But somewhere deep inside, her words found those who still looked up. One night, months later, Maru returned to her village. The same mud house, the same window by the banyan tree. The moon hung over it all, bright and patient, as if waiting for her return. She opened her old pillow, the one that once hid her childhood letters. Only dust remained. So she wrote one more letter. On plain white paper, she wrote with trembling hands, "I met you. You were made of light and memory, and you spoke the language of dreams. I will tell them you are alive." She folded it carefully and placed it on the windowsill. Outside, a breeze stirred. The letter lifted and drifted upward, carried into the night, toward the moon. That night, as she slept, she dreamt she was floating again, weightless, surrounded by silver dust. And from that dust, soft voices rose, thousands of whispers weaving together like wind through stars. "We remember you, child of Earth." She smiled in her sleep. A single tear slid down her cheek, glimmering silver in the moonlight. The next morning, villagers saw something strange. On the roof of Maru's house, in the faint dawn light, tiny patterns glowed, circles and lines like lunar symbols carved in silver dust. By sunrise, they were gone. But every night after that, the moon above Nurabad seemed a little brighter. as if remembering a promise made long ago by a little girl who dared to talk to it. Years later, children in Nurabad would whisper stories of her, of the girl who spoke to the moon and brought light back to earth. And sometimes, when the night was very still, you could hear a faint voice carried on the wind. The sky still listens. Months passed after Maru's return. The world had already moved on. New missions, new discoveries, new names. But somewhere, quietly, something had changed. Children began pointing at the sky again. Artists painted the moon in new shades, not pale and dead, but alive, breathing, dreaming. And every full moon night, radios in distant corners of the world would catch strange faint sounds, soft humming, like wind singing through glass. No one could explain it. Scientists called it lunar resonance. But Maru smiled whenever she heard it. She knew what it really was. The moon remembering her name. Maru's lectures grew famous. She didn't speak of equations anymore. She spoke of wonder. In one such talk, standing before a hall of students, she said, "We spend our lives chasing noise, but the universe is made of silence. And if you listen long enough, that silence begins to sing." Some of the students laughed softly, but others stayed behind after class. They asked her about the light, the whisper, the memory. She didn't give them facts. She gave them a telescope and said, "Ask the sky yourself." That night, across cities and villages, a few curious souls stood under the open dark, looking up at the same moon and for a moment, they felt something, a warmth behind the cold light, a sense that they were not just observers, but part of the same dream. The light within them stirred. In her own home, Maru sat again by the old window. The world outside had changed. Electric poles, glowing signs, screens everywhere. Yet she kept the light in her hand, that tiny fragment she had carried from the moon. Over time, it had dimmed, but never died. She cupped it gently and whispered, "They're starting to listen again." The light flickered, faint but alive. "Greater than..." "We can hear them," the whisper replied. The echo grows. Her eyes filled. "Greater than..." "Then my work is done." "Not yet." The light answered softly, "You are the first, not the last." That night, she dreamt again, of silver oceans, of light flowing through the veins of the sky, of countless reflections rising from the dark. Each reflection carried a face. Some she knew, most she didn't, but they all looked upward, hands outstretched, eyes full of the same wonder she once had as a child. And together, their voices formed a hymn that reached the stars. "We are the echoes of earth. We are the memory of light." When Maru awoke, dawn was breaking. The moon was fading into the blue. But for a heartbeat, she saw something impossible. A faint silhouette of herself reflected on its surface, smiling back. She whispered one last time, "Thank you for listening." The morning light filled her room, turning everything silver for just a moment, as if the moon itself had answered. That day, across the world, telescopes presented a sudden burst of light from the moon's hidden side. Just for a second, then it vanished. But those who saw it swore it looked like the shape of a girl, kneeling, smiling, whispering to the earth. Since then, when children look up at the moon and ask, "Who lives there?" their mothers tell them softly, "Once a girl spoke to the moon," and the moon still remembers her voice. Years melted into each other like candle wax. Seasons changed, cities grew, and human voices grew louder. But somewhere beyond that noise, the sky still remembered silence. And in that silence, the moon glowed brighter than ever before. Not cold, not empty, but alive, holding within it the echo of one girl's dream. Maru grew older, her hair turning the color of the sky before dawn. Yet every night, she sat by her window, writing new letters she never sent. Letters to the moon. Letters to the self she once was. Sometimes she would look at her reflection and whisper, "Greater than, do you still hear me?" And far away, across the ocean of light and darkness, the moon shimmered softly, as if nodding yes. One evening, a storm rolled through Nurabad. Rain lashed against the earth, and the sky roared like a sea of broken stars. Maru stood outside, her shawl soaked, eyes fixed on the faint silver disk behind the clouds. Lightning flashed, and for a second she saw it again, the shape of a girl standing upon the moon. Watching her through the storm, her lips curved into a tired smile, greater than, "I'm ready," she whispered. "Take me home." That night, when the storm passed, the moon shone clearer than it had in years. Its light poured through Maro's window like water. Soft, white, endless. The villagers later said that her room was filled with that glow for hours. When dawn came, she was gone. Only her empty chair remained, facing the window, and a trail of silver dust along the floor. After that night, strange things began to happen. Children claimed they could hear a woman's voice when they looked at the moon too long. A soft humming tone, calm, kind, familiar. Poets began writing verses about a girl made of light. Astronomers found no record of her existence, yet her name echoed in every observation. Like a ghost written between the stars, one scientist, decades later, discovered faint spectral readings from the moon's hidden side, a recurring energy pulse, repeating in a rhythmic pattern. When he converted it to sound, it wasn't static, it was a voice, and that voice said gently, "Keep listening." Generations passed. Cities changed, skies grew crowded again, but somewhere, the legend of Meru, the girl who spoke to the moon, never faded. Mothers still told their children, "When you feel alone, talk to the moon. It remembers those who whisper with love." And when the children asked, "Will it answer?" their mothers smiled softly and said, "It always does, but only if you truly listen." On certain nights, when the world is quiet, a faint shimmer crosses the moon's face, a shape like a girl sitting by a window, head resting on her knees, eyes full of light, and if you listen closely to the wind, you might still hear her voice, gentle, endless, woven into the breath of the sky. The sky still listens. The light remembers. I am home. The end.